Welcome back, it's your boy Trey Swish back at it again with another video. My name is Trey Swish. This is the Ether. Thank you for clicking on this video. If you're new here, consider subscribing. We are living in crazy times, to say the least. The election has definitely showed that. The politics of gaming are crazy nowadays. And don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good games out there. And well, I mean, the politics in general everywhere, it's kind of crazy. The UN's acting weird. Hollywood's always been kind of weird, right? It's kind of the norm. It's not really, but it seems like we're kind of living in a dystopia, which is exactly what a video by the guy named Moon had made. And we're gonna watch that today. I don't know what route he's gonna go down. But there are so many routes he could go down, especially nowadays. So let's just get into the video. Let's see what's popping, shall we?
From the Time Machine to 1984 all the way to the Hunger Games, dystopias have only gotten more popular over time. This could be because the stories they tell and the worlds they explore seem increasingly similar to our own. Looking at all the seemingly unsolvable issues within our own society.
Dude, I remember the first time I saw the streets of Philadelphia and they're walking through and you see needles everywhere and people like just laying down on the ground like zombies. I don't know how old I was at the time when I saw those videos, but that shit really put it into perspective that the world is a fucking crazy place, bro. It just is. And that's just the United States, you know. There's so much out there, dude.
Leads us to that very question. Are we today also living in a dystopia? Well, to understand whether our world qualifies as one, we really need to just figure out what a dystopia actually is, and what sets dystopian media apart from other genres.
That'd be nice.
At the most basic level, it can be understood as the mirror image of a utopia. While a utopian society is either close or has already attained perfection, a dystopia is the opposite. It's a world where negative aspects of society or massive looming problems dominate everything else. It could be nearly anything, from out of control technology to an oppressive regime, or even
also with utopias, typically when you think of something that's close to a utopia, for it to actually be a utopia just in the modern age, you would assume that there's some underlying control mechanism or something going on where it's actually a dystopia in reality. I don't know. It's just hard to imagine like a perfect world, right? It just seems impossible these days, man.
the consequences of some cataclysmic world-changing event. As long as you've got that, the only restriction is that society still needs to exist. While it wouldn't be very nice to live in a world where the zombie apocalypse has taken place, if wider society has already broken down, then it
would be a lot of fun though. Just imagine you and the boys loading up on some lead, getting on top of some random roofs like it's, you know, an airsoft war in a fort back when you're kids, but you know, instead there's some infected people running around and you get to, you just blast your way out like it's a fucking World War Z or some shit. I mean, it wouldn't be ideal. It wouldn't be great. You know, a lot of people would die, especially your loved ones, which is the no-go for me. You know, having any of my family or friends or loved ones, innocent people just dying for no reason. Well, I guess there would be a reason. You know, there'd be a disease going around, but I don't know. Everyone has to have a dream about a zombie apocalypse eventually. Like it's a fun atmosphere for sure, but you know, it's a dream. It's short-lived. Would not be ideal. That's for sure.
Wouldn't be dystopia. So this is the nuts and bolts of the genre, but it still doesn't really tell us anything about why people like the genre or how much a dystopia resembles our own world. One lucky byproduct of how messed up the world has become,
are they going to talk about Philadelphia?
Is that we've got plenty of material here to
good old zombie land.
When the world shut down in early 2020, it was pretty easy to see why people thought we were living in a dystopia. Between the empty streets and the 24/7 news coverage.
Dude, the fucking videos that I saw from China were crazy, where they were bolting the door shut. Oh my god, with people in the buildings trapping them in there. That shit was fucking nuts. I remember that shit clearly. It was like mid-February and I was like, all right, I heard about this COVID thing, but what the fuck is it? Wait, are there zombies out there or something? Like, this shit was nuts, dude. We're so far removed now. It's so weird to think about, because like you think about COVID and the lockdowns being just like, you know, a couple months ago, a couple years ago. But we're fucking 2024, about to be 2025. We're about almost half a decade away from that time period, and that shit is still just embedded in the back of my head, because that shit sucked.
It was almost impossible to go through your day without being confronted by it all. It wasn't surprising that
Oh my god, driving up to a fucking window, dude, a Care Now or whatever, and then fucking you had to shove up that shit up your nose to do the test. Oh, it fucking hurt. And if you didn't shove it up far enough, it wouldn't be accurate. Dude, that shit was fucking weird. Like, when do you ever go to a drive-through to get something shoved up your nose? Well, 2020, that's when.
First 2 months of the outbreak, the game Plague Inc. saw its global downloads more.
Dude, that game went fucking hard. That game, I used to play the fuck out of that game sitting in church, dude. That shit went hard. Oh my god. My boy Clayton, I know he played this game. I think he put me on this game back in the day. Dude, this game was so much fun.
More than double, pushing it towards the top of the App Store charts. Its gameplay of managing the spread of a pathogen was all the more relevant.
Yep.
The film Contagion, which depicts an imaginary flu pandemic, also saw a massive burst of interest.
Also, what was it? The monkey movie, the new Apes movies. They did that too. You know, it was kind of interesting. I like the ape movies. They're always fun.
Went from being the 270th most popular movie straight into the iTunes top 10 for digital downloads. These jumps in popularity were pretty predictable, really.
Damn.
In the same way that any movie which seems to predict the future will see renewed interest. If audiophobic aliens really did invade, then A Quiet Place would probably see a meaty bump in sales.
I never saw The Quiet Place.
At least among people who don't
Dude, though, that Fallout show went hard, though.
mind reading subtitles. But while Contagion and Plague Inc. aren't really dystopias either, it does it.
Is that fucking Homelander, the bottom left? Dude, look at this. Look at this. Hold on. I think that's Homelander.
Mind reading subtitles. But while Contagion and Plague Inc. aren't really
Oh, you can't see him because of my fucking big old noggin. Look at that guy. Does that not look like Homelander to you? Hey, that's all man. Alright, come on. Play. Oh, wait. There we go.
Dystopias either, it does illustrate the key behind what's made the genre what it is today. Dystopias are based on taking a problem with our own world and magnifying it until it dominates and defies everything. If you're a writer or any kind of artist, there's clearly more value in doing this with negative aspects of society compared to the good parts.
Yeah.
It'd simply be boring to read or watch a film about a true utopia.
Hence, hate watchers and people that make a lot of, content about negative shit. It does sell. A lot of people want to listen about negative shit, which I try not to do all the time, but there's a lot of negative shit that's fucking interesting. I can't help myself, right? I'm just gonna talk about shit that's interesting at the end of the day.
As there isn't really any conflict or stakes when the problems have already been solved. But dystopian media, on the other hand, can tell us something about our own world. By magnifying a real problem through the lens of fiction, we get a different, more detailed look at it than we could get on our own.
Yep.
By making the problem define the entire story, it lets us focus completely on it. In our own lives, there's too many other things that get in the way, and it's in this way that dystopian media helps us take control over these daunting, practically unsolvable problems that we're faced with today. While there isn't much surviving philosophy on how to make a dystopia, there's plenty of philosophers who try to do the opposite and figure out what makes a perfect society. Some of them never really saw their plans put into action. Plato's idea of an idealized society involved a strict caste system ruled over by mathematician, philosopher kings. But as far as we know, nobody
that didn't work out.
ever really tried this. Other ideas were more successful. Confucius and his ideas about society laid the bedrock for over 2,000 years of Chinese history. By far the most impactful utopian philosophy of recent history began with Hegel, a 19th century German philosopher. He saw history as a slow, inevitable march towards an enlightened, free society. In his view, everything was leading up to that utopian point, and it's an essential part of his theory of dialectics. But while we might not have reached that point yet, we have seen one of his students' theories put into practice.
All right, here we go,
took Hegel's
boys.
ideas and applied them to a struggle between the workers and an oppressive ruling class. Over history, this internal struggle played out time and time again, inevitably leading to a communist utopia after the workers finally triumphed. But unfortunately, this never really happened either. In fact, when communists got into power, it led to some of the most dystopian and oppressive societies ever. Whether it's a fault with people or it's a fault with communism itself, doesn't really matter for our purposes. The fact remains that
Is he gonna talk about current events with the president? Oh god, here we go. Here we go.
these utopian ideas enabled one of the most oppressive dystopian regimes in history.
I hope
the
not.
Soviet Union even directly inspired one of the dystopias we'll talk about later. But it's clear that utopian thinking and the lengths people go to achieve it can easily lead to a dystopian society instead. Once the ends justify the means, any amount of suffering becomes excusable to reach the end goal. There are some theories that don't directly describe how to create a dystopia, but they do predict that the slide into a dystopian society is inevitable.
I do think there's a lot of dystopia. Like, come on now. Like, imagine what's in the news for the past, like, fucking year. And I get it, like internet news is kind of niche. But
one
like
of my favorite
like oh my god, I know people always think, oh, the world's ending because like our government's failing and whatever, our nation's failing and shit like that. But dude, like it's not that for me. But there's been so many like outrageous headlines nowadays. It's I don't even think about the fucking presidency like that's just recent. Like but like the whole Diddy situation, the whole Epstein situation, the whole like sex pit ring thing is fucking nuts. Like that is still going on today. Slavery is still going on today. Like the most it's ever been. Fucking internet, social media, brainwashing, the Matrix. That's a whole new thing. AI. Yeah, is that making like kids kill themselves and shit now? Like there's so much fucking new problems in the world. It's fucking crazy to see like technology evolve at such a quick rate and the infrastructure be just left behind in the dust. And it's just like leaving it an opportunity for everything to fall apart. I don't think the nation's falling apart or like the government in general, but yeah, there's a lot of shit falling apart.
TV shows is Mr. Robot, and you can probably tell by the amount of times we use the clips in the show. But did you ever see the mail service they use in the show? Well, they're actually today's sponsor, Proton VPN.
Oh, that's
the
nice.
VPN that is taking.
Where's this code at, bro? Where's the code? I need the code.
I mean, you can watch cloud server activities and restricted. Also,
Where's the code? I'm sorry, I'm annoyed.
Scientific progression leads to it.
VPNs are amazing.
The general idea below to learn more and safeguard you.
Like today I was at a fucking whatchamacallit. Let's see if it's in the description below. I just want to show off. Since I'm using his video, I might as well promote his code. So it's right there. Boom bada bing in the description. Go check out his video as well. Go give him a like if it's interesting so far. He does really good work.
Your online freedom with Proton.
Yeah.
The general idea these theories share is that something about technology and scientific progression leads to a dystopia. Either we're guaranteed to abuse the tools it gives us, making the world worse, or the technology changes society itself and creates the conditions that lead to a dystopia. Ted Kaczynski, otherwise known as the Unabomber, was just one of the people who believed in these ideas. Now, he had some insane thoughts on how to try and change
he was like delivering bombs to people's houses. Yeah, he's a little insane.
Things, and seemed delusional that he could even affect things in any way. But the basic ideas in his manifesto are lucid, and it was even—
I hate those fucking glasses. I just recently got some glasses. But I don't know who invented this, but every time I like try some glasses on like this, and I love the aviators, like I love the look. This fucking double notch thing is so ugly. I can't stand it. I don't know why. It's just not for me. I don't know. It just bugs the fuck out of me. It's just like the lines need to be parallel, or I don't want two lines, you know, just make one single bridge. Like, what are we doing? We need better drip out here, boys.
Basic ideas in his manifesto are lucid, and it was even used as evidence that he was very capable of knowing his actions were wrong, as it was a very well written manifesto with many interesting thoughts. You see, he thought that industrial society and technology was slowly stripping people of their natural freedom, whilst destroying the natural world in the process. The outward benefits of technology are enough to convince people to just let this happen, but he ignores just how much of an impact modern technology has in making people's lives better in general. For starters, lots of the people
I don't know why, but this like sparked like a thought in my head. And it's like the freedom of speech thing. Nowadays, I feel like we got into a point where pretty much if someone's really bad, like the Unabomber, and he has a lot of good ideas or some interesting ideas, right? Instead of like understanding what's good and what's bad about his viewpoints and where he went wrong or whatever that might be, what caused him to do such things, I think that it's not even hard for me to say this. It's just like fucking saying it on the internet and putting it out there. But bad people can have good ideas. They can. There's a lot of bad people out there that have had a good idea or two. They have. And to write off everything a bad person has done just doesn't make sense to me at all. And we live in an age nowadays where if someone's bad, framed like the enemy, whatever you want to say, like the villain, whatever, right? That person's the villain in the public eye. So people just want to delete that person from the public, which is it's fine, but I think certain individuals need to be studied. The bad people need to be studied because you need to understand why they're bad, or else you lose the whole train of thought of good and evil. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you don't have evil and you don't understand evil, well then the lines get really murky. I don't know. It's just a thought I had, and it bugs me. It bugs the fuck out of me, dude. It really does, because of the whole cancellation movements and all this, like before Elon owned Twitter, like obviously now it's you can have a fucking, there's a lot of diverse opinions out there on Twitter for sure. I've seen them all. Been on the fucking internet for like 15 years now. And yeah, I've seen a lot, but I've never seen such diverse opinions on the internet as I do on Twitter. And that might be good, that might be bad. It depends on your perspective. I'm not here to say what it is. I'm not a judge by any means. I don't get to, rule out what's good and what's bad. I can make that decision for myself, but not for you. But yeah, it's really interesting. Before that, like, it was all like, it was just fucking, I was being fed the same shit over and over and over again. And now you see a lot of shit that wasn't there before. And it's eerie, because it was like, I feel like people hated a lot of movements or ideas that were pushed back in the day a lot more. And they probably do still, because of the censoring, because you didn't see the worst of the worst, and you kind of, then the worst of the worst is actually not the worst of the worst. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I might have lost your thought. I don't know. Sorry.
Watching this today would be dead if not for...
Actually, I'm not sorry. This is my fucking video, and you better enjoy this shit. Bitch. No, I'm just kidding. Let's get back to it, boys.
Modern medicine. Modern agriculture means that most people don't have to slave away in the
look
fields.
at that.
And bad weather
Tractor
doesn't generally lead to mass
25.
famine anymore. There's even the fact that as a country becomes more industrialized and more developed, it also becomes more likely that it's a democracy rather than a dictatorship.
Yep.
In nearly every metric, it does seem like technology has made the world better for most people.
Yes.
At least so far. The past 20 years or so have started to bring some very...
Well, I think technology in general just enhances everything. It makes everything more efficient, more easier to access, which goes both ways, right? It's a double-bladed sword. Bad things, it's easier to access those. Good things, it's easier to access those. It's a double-bladed sword for sure, especially when you don't have a lot of regulation. Which I'm not a guy that wants a lot of regulation, because obviously, like, people can't fucking say the F word on TV, which is ridiculous. And if they can, it's like later at night. They can't show nudity, or it's later at night, or they only can say so many cuss words, or they give so much percentage time to each, the Republican Party or Democratic Party, because it's on, it's on the airwaves. YouTube obviously doesn't have that, which is another topic for another day, because the big guy's been up to a lot of shit, and I haven't covered any of it, but I've been fucking busy as fuck with this goddamn conferences and working out. My legs currently are chronically cramping. I have fucking Charlie horses practically in both of them right now. When you fucking touch I touch my calves, and I have like tennis balls in them. It's fucking weird shit. I do not like it. Getting back into and working out is not the best. It fucking sucks, but nevertheless,
big doubts into people's
Dystopia
minds.
shit, right?
When new technologies get developed today, it often seems like the negatives massively outweigh the benefits. The internet and instant global communication has led to social media and all the damage that's done to society as well.
But Modern Warfare 2 lobbies, there was a lot of negative shit that happened there, but that shit made me a man. It grew, bro, this new generation. I'm part of Gen Z, but the lower part, they would never survive. If you were in a Modern Warfare 2 lobby, I'm sorry. Because even though it was a traumatizing event to be in one of those lobbies, man, that shit was built character. Yeah, it did. But I do agree with the sentiment, because obviously if you look at like people with social media, especially when it comes to like likes, engagement, followers, it does have a big impact, which is interesting. Like, for girls, obviously, it has a more of an impact, but guys, it does too, because obviously guys want to be, a higher echelon guy, whatever you want to call it, where they're more popular, because they want higher echelon women to be attracted to them, which is through social media, which I think is bullshit. It's rubbish. The best way to meet a woman, in my opinion, is meet them the old-fashioned way, which is meeting them in person, hitting it off, getting, their chemistry and all that kind of stuff, and, know they're a good person, good to talk to, whatever it might be. But that it has been proven. I think there's stats to back it up. I'm not a fucking expert or anything, but I'm pretty sure the suicide rate for girls went up a lot ever since social media came around, especially Instagram. And I can only imagine what TikTok has done too, because that's a whole different wave, right? It's a whole different wave. Instagram used to just post a photo here or there, you know, put a little cute caption on it, you know, look up your favorite lyric. But nowadays, it's TikTok. You gotta post every fucking day. You're doing fucking softcore corn. Replace the C with the P, you know what I mean? Bars. Don't hate the player, hate the game. But yeah, there's a lot of negatives it has done, and there's some positives too. Like, I mean, if you get in a religion, you could just download the Bible on your phone for free, which is nice. And you know, a lot of people aren't religious, but I mean, being able to text your girlfriend or your kid or your mom or a friend, figure out what they want to do for dinner, hang out with them, communicating, that's technology, right? Back in the day, you would have to go outside, run to little Billy's house and see if they wanted to play. And then, you know, when you get older, you don't even see your fucking friends for years at a time, which is crazy. It's wild to think about, right? You get lost, your car breaks down, you can't call 911. You get mugged, you can't call 911. You don't have a cell phone. Like, dude, yeah, there's a lot of benefits that not social media, but technology has done for us, for sure. But social media in general, that's a different question, right? That's definitely a different question, because the ability to connect to people all across the world is an amazing tool. It really is. The first instance I've had with that, and you could consider this a social media in a way, kind of, is with Xbox Live. I met a lot of good friends through Xbox Live, playing Halo 3 and Modern Warfare 2. I did, and I mean, I don't know those guys at all in person, but we hanged out so much back in the day. So, like, a kid that doesn't have a lot of friends at school, or maybe their friends can't come over, or whatever it might be, that's beneficial because you're building social skills that way too, even though it's not in person. I don't know. There's a laundry list. We could keep on ranting, but let's see what Moon's got to say about it.
It also pushed mass surveillance and data harvesting into overdrive.
Yeah, the surveillance shit is kind of fucked, right?
AI promises to be the next big thing, but some of its most popular uses include role-playing with a fake girlfriend,
which is not a bad thing in my opinion. It's not. There's a lot of lonely guys out there that might be problematic and might be, you know, not the best person to like. If I had a daughter, there's a lot of guys out there that are very lonely that I would, you know, I wouldn't mind if they never spoke to my daughter. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you know, just a thought for, you know, I don't know, you know, there's a couple of them out there, you know. You got a Unabomber out there somewhere that just didn't discover how to fucking build a bomb yet, you know, and he's got those crazy ideas in his head. So yeah, I wouldn't want them to. I would rather, you know, those guys enjoy themselves, you know, behind a screen. Just, you know, make sure they understand what come home means. If you know what I'm talking about, that situation's hella fucked with the suicide and everything. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see where this goes. Regulations need to be put on AI. However, I guarantee you the wrong regulations are gonna be put down, which is gonna be absurd. Which is typical. That's laws in general, right? Humans write laws, humans make mistakes, and some laws, I don't think they're the best in the world. And obviously it's a law, so you don't break them. You should be a law-abiding citizen, but we are all young at one point, so yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, AI is a little weird, man. It is. It's interesting. Hopefully that doesn't replace us and, you know, harvest our souls or whatever the fuck.
Place in the Earth's need for humans in the first place. It all gives the impression that at some point in the past few decades, technology became more destructive than constructive for society. And if this trend does exist and it does continue into the future, it will lead to a dystopian society if it hasn't already. With all of that said, we can get down to the specifics. The question of whether our world is a dystopia might be best answered by people's personal experiences. If the world's problems are preventing someone from having a good and meaningful life, then for all intents and purposes, they're living in a dystopia. But what are those specific problems? Well, let's go through these problems and look at the dystopian media that analyzes them.
Look at all the problems in the world. This might take a little this might take a little bit.
It's definitely outshined by other big problems with society. Population collapse is a growing concern for nearly all of the world. The media doesn't really focus on it because it doesn't bring in any ratings. It's a gradual problem of statistics and trend lines.
Is this the conversation that people have been having, that like people aren't fucking enough nowadays? It's like the new generations ain't fucking anymore. There's no kids coming out. I've heard that take by a lot of people, which is interesting to me, but I think it's just like people are waiting longer to do so, which I mean, we had a conversation about abortion and autism. We had a weird ass conversation the other day, not correlating those two together specifically, but it's just a bunch of stuff with my buddy at a bar. And we were talking about how, like, you know, with the generations waiting longer to have kids, it's more probability of, you know, having autistic kids. And I feel like I have nothing against autism. Shit, there's points in my life where I thought I might have been fucking autistic. Fucking hit my head a couple times. Fuck it, you know what I mean? I've done some stupid shit, but like, it's just that's a little bit problematic, you know. But there's spectrums to everything, so I don't know. It'll buff out, right?
But when you examine it more closely, it could shake the very foundations on which our society is built. Modern economies are dependent on growth. If a country's economy stops growing for just a few months, it slips into recession and millions of people see the standard of living
Recession. It's like we're living in one or something, right?
drop, often for years afterwards. Part of this assumption,
Hopefully not for long,
that the economy will just keep growing, is built into the idea that there will always be more people to fill all of the jobs that society needs.
Yep.
Population collapse throws a spanner in the works. As it stands today, large parts of the working population in nearly all developed countries are set to enter retirement over the next few decades. But there's far fewer people being born or entering the workplace to fill this gap.
the farmers is a huge one, and we do not want the government making our food. Well, actually, RFK, it was saying we were going to eat good food again. So we'll see what happens there. There could be a problem for all them fast food chains. You know, they like their preservatives and all that kind of stuff. And I love fast food shit. I had to fucking remove a couple bags from back there because I haven't thrown them out because I've been so busy. But I got a fucking stack, a pile, a mountain of bags from because I eat fast food. I do eat like shit. I might make a video about like how much weight can I lose just eating fast food in 1 month, but showing how much I exercise, which would push me to actually exercise, which would be nice. But my legs are fucking shaking right now. You can't see it. I'm toughing it through, you know. But fuck, I need to drink more water. I hit the sauna after I ran and played basketball, and then drink some Dr. Pepper. Might be the issue. Yeah, that might be the culprit. I need a little bit more, a little bit more salt, a little bit more potassium. Give me the prime. Just kidding, I don't drink that shit. I drink Gatorade Zero, baby.
It means that the world is already dealing with a large dependent population compared to a small proportion of working, economically productive people. It's not the kind of problem that seems like it would create a dystopia all on its own, unless you dial this up to 11. That's the scenario that the 2006 film Children of Men explores. The film is set in an alternate future where nobody has been able to have children for 2 decades, pushing society to the edge. Developing countries have almost entirely collapsed without a working population to keep them sustained.
Yeah, my father's generation was kind of like this. Not as extreme, but we've already had the boomer generation for sure. So it is kind of documented by war, but medical issues is different, obviously.
Developed countries are a bit better off, but the massive amounts of refugees combined with the economic hardship have pushed them deep into authoritarianism. The film revolves around an apathetic civil servant trying to protect humanity's last chance at a brighter future, the only baby to be born in years. A lot of the movie's strength isn't in the plot though. Instead, it's the background information and the details that really tie the film together. There's so much there to make it feel authentic. Some of the details that fans have noticed really show how much thought they put into this. While the film was released years before the shard was built in London, the film is set in the future so it's visible in the skyline. Then there's the underlying detail that people have become even more obsessed with their pets because they're trying to fill the hole that children left.
Oh yeah, baby. I think pets are amazing, dude. It's like having kids. Come here, buddy. Come here. Hold on. Here's one of them. I'll show you one of my boys. Come here, boy. Come here. Get up here, motherfucker. Come on. Come on. Come on. Say hi to the motherfucking ether, baby. You see him? Yeah, he's a good boy. He's a good boy. This is my baby right here. I got another little freak bastard. This is the baby. Alright, get the fuck off me. I love you, but shit. Gotta fucking chop this thing up. But, yeah, I suggest that before having a kid, definitely have a pet. It'll definitely help you grow as a person.
The political commentary and the details of the overarching story are left in the background as well. As we mentioned earlier, dystopian media often amplifies and magnifies things going on in our own world, and this is no exception. The two sides of the conflict in Children of Men are both distortions of today's political divide.
Where's
the rich
Iron
and
Man?
powerful are depicted as fascist oppressors, living in their own little bubbles, oblivious to the suffering going on around them. They hoard art from the old world, but it's all meaningless because it's been taken out of the world which gave it context, and soon nobody will be around to appreciate it.
Wait, he's got a metal leg. What is this? I didn't even notice this. The fuck is going on here? Are they trying to? They're trying to modernize the ancient art.
They keep the shaky establishment in place with propaganda, brutal reprisals, and oppression. You would expect the film's version of the left to therefore be the good guys, fighting to take down the oppressive system, but instead they're just much more morally grey. One of the first action scenes is later revealed to be an inter-faction assassination plot, for example, and it shows how divided and power-hungry they really are, trying to use humanity's last hope as a political tool. They clearly want to tear down the old order, but that's the only thing they're unified by. At the end of the film, in a big battle scene, they're still just as violent and threatening to the last hope of humanity as the government has been. The whole political conflict running through the movie is framed as the result of hopelessness for the future, but when they see the hope and they see the baby at the end of the movie, it's one of the most powerful moments in the film. All the conflict and the fighting just stops when they can see that there is still hope. Children of Men does a great job of visualizing our worst fears when it comes to population collapse, but it goes even deeper than that. The film explores the problems with a decaying society. The fact that it's all so intuitive and recognizable shows us a lot about our own world today. The deep resemblance definitely pushes us towards the conclusion that we are in fact living in a dystopia, but it also definitely helps that the movie is trying to imagine what our times would look like.
I wonder, okay, so like this is the thing with social media. So a lot of things are obviously tailored to you because of views and watch time and stuff like that. Well, I'm talking like social media in general, just like actual clips that people are recording and like life IRL content, I guess you would say. But you see all these incidents, fights, riots, whatever it might be, a cop, taking someone down, or whatever it might be, right? A bunch of crazy shit is always on the timeline, especially on Twitter. That's where I pretty much, that's where I get my content from. Or I watch content at least. Then Instagram too. Instagram's pretty fucking wild nowadays. They'll fucking have like straight up like murders and fucking people just dying on there, which is insane. Don't know how that's legal, but it is. Well, it's on there at least. I don't know if it is legal or not. I'm not a lawyer. But you see all these things, and it's kind of just pushed to you because people watch it, which makes sense if you think about it, because it's so fucking crazy. You don't see this in real life typically. I mean, like, they had fucking videos pushed to me from like Ukraine soldiers and shit, like fucking first person views, like it was Call of Duty or something. But I don't know, I feel like a lot of this stuff would happen naturally back in the past all the time. So I don't know when this like era, this age of like modern dystopia would have started. Like, I mean, World War II, dude, it's fucking wild. World War I, that shit is fucking wild. Just killing people with gas, putting fucking gas, fucking whatever, and then spraying it across fields with fucking big ass fucking fans. Like, this world has been a dystopia for so long, and then you go back into the fucking histories and you read about these ancient battles, these conquerors. I mean, come on, what are we doing? It's just, now it's pushed to us constantly. We can see it. We're not reading about certain battles that were glorified by historians or written by victors. We're seeing perspectives all over the world. So is it really a dystopia, or is it us just having eased access? I don't know. That I'm kind of like, I don't know, man.
Very realistic, close to home dystopia, set only a few years from the current day. A different test would be to see how our world stacks up against a dystopia that seems like it's much more different to our world. One where flying cars, cyborgs, and other futuristic technologies are everywhere.
No, in fucking 50 years, we're gonna have the same shit. We're gonna have fucking crazy ass shit that seems fucking unreal. That's, the technology is evolving past that we ever would have thought. It's gonna be the same story. It was the same story back in the day, right? I don't know where that story changes. It's pretty much where your technology would plateau, I'd assume, and then regulations or laws or whatever it might be catches up to it. Morality, I don't fucking know what do you want to say, but I just think this is going to be the same cycle. We're going through the same cycles all the time. History repeats itself. It does. But not just actual like historical events, but like repetition, waves, cycle. I don't know. Fuck it.
Like the world of Blade Runner 2049, Cyberpunk as a genre and Blade Runner in particular focuses on what it means to be human and where we should draw the line between human and machine. In the film, we see a world where every intangible part of humanity has been figured out and replicated, then turned into a product. These human-like machines or replicants are everywhere in the film, and they're treated like a lower class of individual.
I really feel uncultured. I have not seen so many of these movies that he's mentioning, which bothers me. I don't know what happened, dude. I got so busy and I just stopped watching movies all of a sudden. I need to pick my shit up. There's so many classic out there that I haven't watched. I actually heard bad things about this movie though. Is this movie even good? Because I've heard a lot of people shit on this movie. But yeah, man, I don't even know where I was going with that.
Human in pretty much every single way, except for the fact they still can't have children of their own. It's the final barrier yet to be broken down by technology.
Oh, I was going with it's gonna be fucking crazy because eventually we're gonna be cyborgs. We pretty much already are, right? I'm a cyborg, bro. I got my phone right here. It's with me 24/7. When it dies, I'm like, fuck, I need to plug that bitch in. It needs to get charged. I turn back into a fucking ape. I'm like, I'm over here. Need charge phone now. It's like, dude, calm down. You'll live. You know, we're helpless. We're fucking slaves to the machine for sure. When we glorify these machines, it's crazy. Eventually, we're gonna be the machine. The machine will be us. That'll be wild. Fucking wow. Okay, back to
and Blade Runner 2049's world uses it as justification for their slavery. The story follows Kay, a replicant whose job it is to hunt down other replicants that have gone rogue and rebelled against their programming. In the process, he discovers the body of a replicant who has given birth.
I've heard this story before.
It's a discovery that could change the whole society's view on replicants, but as we'll find out, it's also something which could seal the fate of replicants as lower class citizens forever.
Okay.
Wallace, the de facto corporate overlord of the world and the creator of the replicants, also wants to find the promised child. Replicants are still expensive and slow to create, meaning they still can't fully replace people. If he can unlock that final secret, it'll perfect his product and give him pretty much total control. It's this fact that makes the film feel so close to home, despite all the futuristic technology and skyscraper-sized holograms. It's a world caught in an awkward middle phase, stuck between the past and a utopian future. If non-sentient replicants were perfected and there were enough of them, you could imagine freeing up enough resources for everyone to have a good life. But instead, their scarcity and the tyrannical control of corporations has made the world even more unequal. All the wealth and power is hoarded by the ruling corporate class. The rest of the world is left in an even worse position. We see this in the film when he visits the factory that is all still held up by child labor and oppression. The technology that promised salvation for the masses has instead only deepened those gaps. It mirrors the way that technology seems to be impacting our world today. We're constantly told about how innovations like AI are going to make the economy more productive and therefore make people's lives better.
I've had so many conversations about this at a bar. I'm sorry, but eventually AI and robotics will replace so many jobs. It already does. It already has, but it's going to get so much better, and it's going to get so much cheaper. That I'm just so like, and the argument always is, well, that's going to create more jobs. Okay, it's going to create some more jobs. Is it going to create more jobs than that were previously existing? I don't think so. No way. There's already more cars in the world than there are people. There's a lot less mechanics in the world than there are cars, right? You know where I'm going with this? Like, man.
But as we've gotten more advanced, people are increasingly seen as numbers on a spreadsheet. The further we go, the more the world seems to alienate people.
Dude, this is so true because like hiring people is now tailored. It's literally like, oh, I'm just gonna go to a website, I'm just gonna browse through. Oh, it's like a dating site, right? You can just like select employees you want to work with or whatever it is, and you literally get to pick and choose. You can send them a message. Don't even have to reply to the motherfucker. No like actual like humane practices. Shout out to the people that actually like are humane and let people know, hey, we're going with this person or whatever it might be, right? And do in-person interviews to actually get to know the person a little bit better. But I mean, we're getting far and farther away from that shit.
Despite massive improvements in productivity and wealth creation, tons of people are just poorer and have less opportunities than they had 10 or even 50 years ago. The world of Blade Runner
Yes and no.
2049 has gone further on this path than ours has. Corporations are publicly in full control of every branch of the government, for example, rather than just pulling the strings from the...
Yeah, eventually the world's just gonna be run by corporations. But luckily, and kind of governments are corporations in a way too. I mean, we pay them with our tax money and everything, you know. So we're kind of already there. If it depends on your perspective.
The background. But the fact that we're even on this path to begin with betrays a dystopian quality about our modern world, and how it doesn't seem like it's designed for people anymore. This is just one small part of the themes explored by Blade Runner 2049, of course. To get a more detailed breakdown, check out our full video on the movie. We've seen 2 dystopian societies so far that have turned into dystopias by outside forces. Either the progression and misuse of technology in the case of Blade Runner, or a global fertility crisis in Children of Men. But these aren't necessary. All you need for a dystopia is a society that's reliant or even designed to create its own misery. Enter 1984, the ascent.
Well, if that's all it takes, well, shit, we're already... if we're not there yet, we're right on the fucking fringe. Like, dude, what? That is completely social media. 100% without a doubt. It is, and there's so many benefits to it. But, dude... how much like negative shit has been in your feed that you just do not want to see, but it's always in your feed? And you know why? Because the algorithm knows you interact with it. Even if you don't tweet about it and you draft that shit or delete it, they know what you're doing on that shit. They know what you click on. They know what you type. Come on now. There's a reason it's this way.
And possibly the most oppressive dystopian society ever imagined. There's a reason that 1984 has had such a huge impact on culture. It explains the workings of an oppressive society incredibly well, even decades later, and nothing else gives us the same tools to accurately deconstruct the totalitarianism of our own world.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this. I did not expect him to go down this rabbit hole in this direction, which is actually a really cool change of pace because I fucking love sci-fi. And obviously I haven't seen a lot of these movies, but I mean, the topics in general, I'm very familiar with, right?
Which we've also done a huge video on before. The world of 1984 is defined by stagnation. The ideology of the ruling party and the world they created is expertly designed to suppress and dominate every other part of life. One of the most striking parts of Orwell's dystopia is what the party has done to language. Normal languages like the kind that we use don't exist in a vacuum. Every word or phrase we say only has any meaning based on the context in which it's said. The philosopher Wittgenstein explains this through his theory of language games. Take the word cut, for example. If you read it in a recipe, it's probably referring to something about chopping vegetables. But a director shouting it on a movie set would make the word mean something completely different.
Well, it's not completely different. You're still cutting the scene like you would if you metaphorically could cut the scene with a knife. It's similar, but other areas use the word differently.
Words like this, they're all dependent on the specific language game that...
Like, doesn't cut mean like house or something? Or am I thinking of something else? It's not caught. Caught's a little bad. I don't know.
You're playing at the time. They're just building blocks. In 1984 though, even this freedom is in the process of being suppressed. Orwell imagined the party creating a new language called Newspeak, where most of the linking words have been taken out, while other words have been changed or removed entirely. The result is a language which has barely any building blocks and where the context has already been decided. It only works and you can only understand it in the context of submitting to a party rule. Rebellion and disagreement within the party line is therefore impossible to even comprehend when using Newspeak. As we've said before, dystopian media often amplifies things we see in our own world today. And while we haven't created a whole new language yet, we have seen certain words and phrases getting removed from our language completely.
Yeah, I mean, they're look at English back in the day. There's a reason it's called Old English. It is a different language.
And social media is one of the biggest culprits. There's plenty of words which would be more accurate, but we can't actually say them because of YouTube's arbitrary rules. It's all a way to restrict language so that things people talk about fit into the sanitized corporate context which they want to force on people. All the stuff we've been talking about seems to confirm our worst fears, that we are living in a dystopia. The fact that our society embodies so many dystopian qualities seems to confirm this, but it still isn't the full picture. there's still one part of dystopian media that we haven't actually fully discussed, and that's the theme of hope, which is always present in some way or another.
Yeah.
Some dystopian...
And I was thinking this myself. Like, yeah, you can say it's a dystopia, but at the end of the day, when you work with darkness, the light always shines the brightest, right? It's why, like, struggle always is so satisfying, because when you do pull through and make something happen, it's the contrast, right? It just makes it feel that much better. So yeah, I'd say it makes, focus about the little things, stuff like that. But yeah, dude.
Stories have a positive ending, which implies that the society moved on from this phase and got better in some way.
I think it could be a lot worse, right? It could be a lot worse.
Children of Men is like that, for example. It's all about the power of hope. Others, like 1984, seem like they end with all hope having been extinguished. The main character of Winston eventually succumbs to indoctrination and loses his humanity. But even in the bleakest dystopia imaginable, that hope still exists somewhere. The parts of life the party is trying to suppress and make people forget will always exist.
Was that
However,
Adam
well,
Silver?
It means that while our world has dystopian qualities and it does seem to be getting worse in lots of ways, we'll never truly live in a real dystopia. The world is just too complex and varied for any one thing or problem to dominate it completely. There's still tons of problems, and for an increasing amount of unlucky people, they come to dominate their individual lives. It doesn't mean that the good parts of life like art, music, hobbies, friends and family aren't there. Our modern world has made it harder and harder to lose yourself in those parts of life. It all gets in the way, and we're bombarded with these dystopian problems constantly. And it's made the skill of being able to tune
Well, it just comes down to self-control.
all of that out even more important.
And that's a topic for another day. That was a good ass video, I'm not gonna lie. That deserves a like. Go check out Moon. Shout out to the guy. Let's check out the comment section below. Why not, shall we? Remember that dystopia, just like any dictatorship, needed two things to come true: the bad people willing to act, the good people unwilling to act. 1984 was supposed to be a warning, not a tutorial on what to do. The quality of art and entertainment has taken a steep decline in recent years. Well, who said this? Shazile? I don't know how to say your name. Well, guess what? Usually the darkest times is when the best artists arrive and pop out. So yeah, and there are, trust me, I love art. There are some amazing artists out there right now living on this big old rock that me and you are living on that are they do phenomenal work. Phenomenal. And I'm not talking about Chat GPT. Calm down. Sit down. Go touch grass. We're living in in housing games. Fuck is that? Like birdhouses or some shit? Those who grew up in this dystopia won't know how good it used to be. I don't know what's worse, knowing or not knowing. Yes and no, in my opinion. Do I think back fondly on the old times when, I didn't fucking click my phone and I could go through like a cajillion different social media apps or whatever it might be. Yeah, I miss this when the days were simpler. I miss my childhood and stuff like that for sure. But that's also called nostalgia. That's why a lot of old movies you romance in your head and you'll watch it again and you're like, wait a second, why am I obsessed with this shit? So I don't know. That's I don't know. Everyone has their own perspective, right? Short answer, yes. Oh Jesus. All right. Let me know what y'all think. Do we actually live in a dystopia or not? I'm really curious what you think, because I have a lot of mixed feelings on this video, on this topic in general, and a lot of different side topics that have popped out into this video. So if I sparked any interest, any conversation, any thoughts that are brewing that you're wondering, you need to maybe just tell me. I would love to have a conversation about it down below in the comment section. And also, if you're not subscribed, you might as well subscribe, help out the channel. We need to get to 1,000 subs so we're monetized and so I can get creative and do some creative shit, like, because I can't pour money into this. I had to stop making YouTube shorts because I was hiring an editor. I frankly can't afford it. I'm gonna have to use the money from YouTube and just fund into the YouTube, which I like. It's awesome because I mean, the fact that I can make these videos and have conversations with people all across the world, it's the reason why social media isn't too bad. It's not so bad. It's pretty cool. Something you would have never been able to do. Never left the country, or actually I've left the country before. Once, uno más. Very cool experience, but haven't been that many places, but I can still like talk to a lot of people, which is cool, all over the world, all over. But yeah, let me know what you're thinking down below. My name is Trey, Swish, and this is the Ether, and one day I will explain why this channel is called the Ether. I will explain that, but I can't do that until I get monetized because I need to do some creative shit with that monetization moolah. And we're about to hit the view count pretty soon, but the subs, we need 1,000. So it is what it is. You don't even need a sub. If you're watching the videos, that helps me out tremendously. And it's yeah, but fuck all that shit, dude. Fuck all that shit. This ain't about all that. Fuck that shit. I'm over here fucking bitching because of fucking numbers. Fuck that shit. I was just talking shit about that shit. Fuck that. I hope you have a good day. Comment down below your favorite thing about life. All right, I'm out of here. I gotta fucking go to sleep and ice my calves because golly, and probably chug a fucking gallon of water. But yeah, now it's nice to know that we might live in a dystopia.